Today, we're jumping right into something that literally shapes the safety of every single workplace, and that is incident reporting. We're going to see exactly why this isn't just some tedious paperwork chore, but actually a really dynamic, life-saving detective process. So, let's get into it. So, think about this for a second. If you slip on a wet floor, but, you manage to catch your balance and you don't actually fall, did an incident happen? A lot of folks would just brush themselves off, maybe laugh it off, and walk away. But in the world of health, safety, and environment management, that simple little slip, that's a massive red flag. And that brings us to this absolutely crucial concept, the near miss. Basically, it's an event that didn't cause any injury or damage, but it absolutely had the potential to do so. Just imagine a hammer falling from 3 stories up on a scaffolding and landing right smack beside a worker. Nobody was hurt, right? But that falling hammer is quite literally the most critical clue we have to prevent a future tragedy. It exposes a hidden hazard before things get serious. Moving on to Section 1, the truth about incidents. Because the real goal here isn't to point fingers or punish people, it's about uncovering exactly what happened and why. Now, at the heart of this detective work, we've got to separate immediate causes from root causes. So an immediate cause could be a worker not wearing their PPE, or maybe an unsafe act like listing something improperly. But if we stop our investigation right there, we fail. We have to look past those immediate symptoms to cure the underlying disease, the root causes. Like, why wasn't the worker wearing PPE? Was it a total lack of training, poor supervision, a weak safety culture? That is where the real truth hides. Which takes us to Section 2, stop, secure, report. Because when things go wrong, those first few minutes dictate the success or failure of your entire investigation. Here is exactly what needs to happen right away. First, ensure personal safety and stop work if you need to. Then, obviously, provide any emergency assistance or first aid. Notify a supervisor immediately. But really pay attention to these next steps: securing the area and preserving the evidence. These are your golden hours. Properly securing that area and keeping the scene exactly as it is, well, that's absolutely vital for the investigation that's going to follow. There's a really tragic irony in cleaning up a scene before an investigation. We see it all the time. Well-meaning workers cleaning up a spill or moving broken equipment just to tidy up. But doing that essentially destroys the exact evidence we need to protect everyone else. Other huge mistakes? Waiting days to report the issue, guessing the facts instead of collecting real data, pointing fingers without proof, or just completely ignoring crucial witnesses. Section 3, investigating the root cause. Once our scene is totally secure, we start peeling back the layers to find the truth. Let's use the 5 whys technique on a real-world scenario. Say a worker simply slips on the floor. At first glance, you might just shrug and say, well, they should be more careful. But as HSE detectives, we know better than that. So we ask our first why to dig just a bit deeper. Why did the worker slip? We investigate and find the immediate cause. The floor was wet because water was leaking from a damaged pipe. Now, a lazy investigator might just mop it up, throw some duct tape on the pipe, and call it a day. But a good detective, they don't stop there. We ask why again to keep narrowing down our suspect. Why was that pipe damaged and leaking in the first place? Boom. Now we hit a systemic issue. We find out that the required inspection wasn't conducted at all, and the maintenance schedule was completely ignored. So we've gone from a clumsy worker to a breakdown in the maintenance schedule. But we can go one step further. Why was the schedule ignored? See, by continually asking why, a simple, everyday slip on a wet floor leads us directly to the true root cause: poor maintenance management. If we just told that worker to be more careful, the pipe keeps leaking, the floor gets wet again, and someone else is going to fall. Finding the root cause means we can fix the actual problem. Moving into Section 4, fixing and preventing. Because once that root cause is exposed, we can't just file the report away in a cabinet. We've got to take concrete action. To genuinely close an investigation, you have to implement 2 specific types of actions. Corrective actions are all about fixing the now, removing the immediate hazard. This means repairing the damaged equipment, replacing the busted tools, fixing the housekeeping. But preventative actions, those are about fixing the future. Those stop similar incidents from ever happening again, using things like routine inspections, targeted safety campaigns, and thorough risk assessments. Section 5, the web sling case study. Let's see how near misses, root causes, and preventive actions all come together on a real construction site. Okay, picture this situation. You're doing a heavy lifting operation and a web sling completely snaps because it was damaged. Fortunately, this massive load falls into an isolated area. No one's injured, no major property damage. Now, this gets reported immediately as a near miss, kicking off our detective work. And because it was reported, an investigation happens. The findings? Totally eye-opening. The sling inspection checklist was completely ignored. Damaged lifting gear was knowingly left in service. And to top it all off, the workers hadn't had any refresher training on lifting procedures in years. So, the investigation uncovers a whole chain of systemic failures, rather than just blaming the crane operator for dropping the load. And because they found those root causes, they took the right actions. They immediately tossed the damaged slings, that's our corrective action. But they also did massive site-wide lifting inspections, provided refresher training for the entire staff, and completely updated their inspection procedures. By getting rid of the bad equipment and retraining the staff, they essentially closed the case and neutralized a future threat that could have easily been fatal. So, as we wrap up this explainer, let's look at our key takeaways. The biggest thing to remember is that every single incident, especially a near miss, is a golden opportunity to improve safety. Reporting isn't about snitching, it's about protecting your people and your equipment. Good investigations find causes, not blame. A strong reporting culture quite literally creates a safer workplace for absolutely everyone. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over the next time you spot a hazard at work. Are you hiding incidents to avoid uncomfortable blame, or are you reporting them to potentially save a life? The choice is entirely yours.